The car sputtered, coughed, and finally died, leaving Sarah stranded in an unnerving silence. The rain had just stopped, but a thick, milky fog was rolling in, clinging to the ancient trees that crowded the lonely road. It was like the forest itself was breathing, its cold breath crawling across the ground. A flicker of light, weak and distant, caught her eye. Through the mist, she could just make out a sign, "Welcome to Restwood Inn." It was an old two-story building, looking more like a forgotten relic than a place of welcome. But it was her only option. With a deep breath, she pushed through the wet leaves and walked towards the inn. The building loomed over her, its windows like dark, vacant eyes. The wood was dark with age and moisture. She reached the heavy oak door and knocked. The sound echoed, swallowed by the forest. She waited. Silence. She knocked again, harder this time. Instead of a reply, the door creaked open on its own, revealing a dimly lit interior. The air inside was heavy, thick with the smell of dust, melted wax, and something else, something ancient and deeply unsettling. It was the scent of a place that had held too many secrets for too long. The reception area was deserted. A thick layer of dust covered everything except for an open register book on the counter. It looked as if someone had just been there. Drawn by curiosity, Sarah leaned over. The handwriting was old, faded ink from years past. She traced her finger down the page, stopping at the very last entry. It read, "Room 13, checked in, never checked out." A chill that had nothing to do with the damp air snaked down her spine. "Must be some kind of dark humor," she whispered to herself, trying to dismiss the knot of fear tightening in her stomach. But the silence of the inn offered no reassurance. Beside the book, a single ornate brass key lay waiting. A small tag dangled from it, engraved with the number 13. With no other choice, she picked it up. The metal was unnaturally cold to the touch. The grand staircase groaned under her weight with every step, each creak a complaint from the old house. It felt as if the floorboards were alive, remembering the countless footsteps they had borne over the centuries. The hallway on the second floor was a long, dark corridor, lined with closed doors. At the very end, she found it, room 13. Her hand trembled slightly as she inserted the key. The lock turned with a loud, grating click. As she pushed the door open and stepped inside, the single bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered violently before casting a weak, sickly yellow light. The room was just as old as the rest of the inn. The wallpaper was peeling, revealing dark stains underneath. In the center of the room, against the far wall, stood a bed with a tattered quilt. But what drew her attention was the mirror hanging on the wall. It was large and ornate, but a long spiderweb crack ran right through its center. On the nightstand beside the bed sat a small, intricately carved wooden music box. A strange compulsion made her walk over to it. Her fingers traced its delicate patterns before she turned the tiny key on its side. A haunting, melancholic melody filled the silent room, a simple tune that sounded both beautiful and deeply sorrowful. That's when she heard it. A soft knock coming from the bathroom door. Tap. Sarah froze, her heart instantly leaping into her throat. The music box continued its sad tune. "Hello," she called out, her voice a shaky whisper. "Is someone in there?" The only reply was the silence stretching between the notes of the music. She told herself it was just the old house settling, the pipes groaning. Then it came again. Tap, tap. Slower this time, more deliberate. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, to run out of the room and never look back. But a terrifying curiosity, a need to know, rooted her to the spot. Taking a shaky breath, she crept towards the bathroom door. Her hand closed around the cold brass knob. She yanked the door open. The light inside flickered erratically, just like the one in the bedroom. For a split second, she saw it, a shadow, tall and distorted, moving across the far wall, even though the small room was completely empty. It vanished as quickly as it appeared. A gasp escaped her lips. She slammed the door shut, her back pressing against the wood, her heart hammering against her ribs. She spun around, her eyes darting wildly across the room. And then she saw it, in the cracked mirror. Her own reflection stared back, wide-eyed with terror. But she wasn't alone. Standing directly behind her reflection was a figure, a tall, dark silhouette, featureless except for two faint glowing red pinpricks where its eyes should be. A scream caught in her throat. She whirled around, her eyes scanning the empty room. There was nothing there. She was alone. But the image in the mirror, it had been so clear, so real. Panic set in, cold and sharp. She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. No signal. Of course, the music box on the nightstand suddenly started playing again, all on its own. But this time, the melody was wrong. It was faster, the notes clashing in a distorted, jarring cacophony. It sounded like a scream turned into music, and then a voice, a dry, rasping whisper, so close it felt like it was breathing on the back of her neck. "You shouldn't have taken the key." That's when she finally screamed. She bolted from the room, not daring to look back, and sprinted down the hallway. She threw open the first door she reached, desperate for an escape, for any other room but that one. But as she stumbled through, she found herself not in a different room, but back in room 13. The same peeling wallpaper, the same cracked mirror, the same distorted music box. It was impossible. She ran out again, into the corridor that now seemed to stretch into an endless, repeating loop. Each door she frantically opened, every turn she took, led her right back to the entrance of room 13. The inn was playing a game with her, and she was the helpless pawn. Exhausted and terrified, she leaned against the wall in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. She glanced into the room one more time and saw the mirrors. Not just the one on the wall, but reflections in the window, in the polished surface of the music box. And in each reflection, more shadows were appearing, whispering figures made of darkness, their forms indistinct, their voices a low, sibilant murmur that seemed to come from everywhere at once. They were moving closer, their shadowy hands reaching for her. Then one figure became clear. Sitting on the edge of the bed was a young girl. She had pale, almost translucent skin, and dark, empty eyes that stared into nothing. She was humming, a frail, ghostly sound that perfectly matched the music box's tune. Sarah's voice trembled as she forced the words out. Who are you? The girl slowly turned her head, a faint, sad smile touching her lips. Her voice was like the rustling of dry leaves. I checked in before you, she said softly, and now you'll never check out. As the last word left her lips, every candle in the hallway and every light in the room blew out at once, plunging everything into absolute darkness. Sarah's final piercing scream echoed through the Restwood Inn, and then silence. Hours later, the storm passed and the sun rose, its gentle light filtering through the trees. A new traveler, his car also broken down, found his way to the inn. The front door creaked open for him, inviting him in. At the reception desk, the dusty register book lay open. Below the last entry for room 13, a new name had appeared, written in ink so fresh it seemed to still be wet. It read simply, Sarah, room 13. Some doors should never be opened, especially the ones that open by themselves. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the dark. Stay safe.